Hello, this is Spellbinder's Report. This is a news report on the continuing removal of the First and Second Amendment rights in America. What is happening here is we're getting our rights removed by a bunch of Democrats who are virtually must be socialist, Marxist, Maoist, because they don't believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, or they wouldn't even said a word about all this. For some reason, they think they know what's good for you. They think they're your mom and dad and God, and they know what you need. We put them in there for that, don't you know? Yes. And this is just a review over something here. Here's an article that just came up on TV Newster. And it's Gerald Longner's friend says suspect did not watch TV, disliked the news. He says here, he did not watch TV. He disliked the news. He didn't listen to political radio. He didn't take sides. He wasn't on the left and he wasn't on the right. There you go. There's the facts. Jack. And you got the Democrats out there still saying we got to control the guns. We got to control your speech. We can't have, hatred speech out there or anything. No First Amendment rights like that. We got to take away things. Here's another guy who would tell you these things. This is Reverend Ted Pike, who says, even in here under Scripture, it says Scripture condemns those like Representative Brady who make a man an offer for a word. Isaiah 29:21. Christian civilized ethics judges us in general by the definable action, legal or illegal, which accompany our words. Outlawing a list of politically incorrect words is medieval. Under the Brady Bill, much of our free speech would be taken in order to keep the crazies calm. There are better, more proven ways society has found to deal with the insane. They include psychiatric drugs and mental hospitals, and not federal speech crime laws that strip the majority of freedom. See, this is what they're doing to us right now, and they're not following the Constitution, which is scriptural and its own content. And here's the guy that's going to tell you all about it. This is the Dem congressman. If violent rhetoric didn't cause this shooting, it would be caused next one. It will cause the next one if we keep allowing people to have free speech. And I'm going to help along with this and dictate along with it what he's trying to say or mean.
Well, this tragedy in Arizona prompting calls for change across the board. Some say lawmakers need more security. Others are saying we need new gun control laws. Democrat Robert Brady of Pennsylvania was here yesterday saying he wants to make it a federal crime now to use symbols that appear to threaten a lawmaker. And New York Democrat Louise Slaughter now says that the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, should crack down on TV and radio broadcasts that could incite violence. Congressman Brad Sherman is a California Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee, and he's my guest now. Congressman, thank you so much for being.
What's the problem with that is that these people don't listen to us, and they're pushing us to the point where they're pushing us into violence. That's what they want us to do. They really want to, so they can crack down with a police state real hard. And they're going to continue to piss us off. That's what they're going to do. I mean, everything they've done so far is one step pushing the people over the edge. Now listen to how he wants to push you even further.
Here. What are your thoughts on it, in particular on the efforts by Congressman Brady and Congresswoman Slaughter?
Well, I'm not sure that new laws are going to help much. We do need to look at the size of the magazines available to those who are buying guns. That probably wouldn't have saved Gabby, but it might have saved some of the other people that were shot later.
No, what would have saved everyone later, or saved everyone that day, is everyone there that was of age to own a gun was trained in safety and use of a weapon, and were known to be able to what to look out for, and see this guy pulling a gun and starting to point it towards the representative, Gaby, and were stopped him before he even got the first shot off. That's what would have fixed the problem. But no, their ideal is to take away everyone's gun and wait for the police to get there to stop him. If it wasn't for the bystanders that happened to be there to tackle him, he would have put in a new clip and killed the rest of them.
I think ultimately, though, this is a matter for public opinion and leadership opinion, journalists and politicians, to react when there are groups that cross the line. And we can't know for sure that this assassin was motivated by the toxic rhetoric that has gone on too long. But when you have a...
No, you know what he was done by. It was done by probably MK Ultra or something of that nature. He disappeared for 2 days. Nobody knew what happened to him, and he suddenly shows back up. And this is like not too long ago before this happened. And I just wonder if he was put into a sleeper mode and was somehow triggered. But that's beside the point. All I know is he came back and he was ready to kill anyone and her. And that's, man, this is just madness. They just want to take everything away. Take away your rights, take away your money, take away everything. Turn you into a slave.
Heart attack, you stop smoking, whether there's absolute proof that tar and nicotine caused your heart attack or not. And it's time for us to call out and criticize or even disown those on the far left or the far right or anywhere on the spectrum that whip our rhetoric beyond discussion of the issues and all the way to sanctioning violence or disruption.
I don't think anybody, would take issue with that last piece. That the extreme rhetoric on either side that whips people up into a frenzy and certainly calls for violence. I mean, who is for that? But the argument people make, Congressman, is. But let me just finish making my point. Then you can go. But the argument people make is that to use the massacre that we saw on Saturday as sort of a springboard to call for any sort of modification of free speech in this country is disingenuous, because even though you might know that cigarette use generally does lead to heart attacks, in this case the sheriff of Pima County told me on the record he has no evidence whatsoever that this guy was anything more than a deranged gunman, or that he ever even watched TV or listened to radio or heard any of these so-called, vitriolic statements.
Well, it's clear from his web postings that he had picked up some of the extreme right positions, such as that our currency is not real currency, etc. You do hear that in the blogosphere on the extreme right. But again, my point is...
That's right. I know any nut job now that comes out and says our currency isn't real currency is supposed to make you believe that it's not so. Well, it's not real currency. It's counterfeit. Just ask Bernanke, who's printing up trillions of dollars and giving it away to his buddies to go around and buy up real assets while everyone still believes it's real money when it's not. It's a counterfeit money. If it was real money, it'd say U.S. Treasury over the top, not Federal Reserve note. Jeez.
If you have a heart attack, you stop smoking, whether or not you can absolutely prove that the nicotine that you've taken in caused that particular heart attack, because you know that breathing in toxic fumes is going to be harmful to our political system. And that's why when, for example, Sharon Engel was able to basically say, if we can't take over Congress through ballots, let's use bullets, and still get tremendous support and admiration and millions of dollars from people who think of themselves as responsible.
See, the reason for that was because you guys, the Democrats, weren't listening to your constituents. They'd go to these town hall meetings, and guess what? You'd sit there and tell them they don't know what they're talking about, that you know everything and you're God over them, as if we put you in there to be our rulers and we're your slaves. No, my friend, we are the rulers and you are our slaves. You're paid to be our slaves. Get it through your head.
That's a problem. You had a Senate candidate who had a gaffe where she thought that I think Schuler was a Yankee fan, and in fact he was part of the Red Sox winning team. She paid an enormous political price for that. But when Sharon Engel more than once basically said, let's let's use guns to take over Congress, she got millions of dollars.
But see,
not necessarily for that comment,
to me
but
it
in
sounds
spite
like
of the
you're
comment.
making a political objection. You know, if the people still loved Sharon Angle, then isn't that their right? You know, should she be shut down from making those statements? Because, you know, as a recovering lawyer myself, I practiced law for 9 years, and I covered the Supreme Court for 3 years. I know that the Supreme Court has ruled you cannot, a threat is only illegal, a statement, only true threats can become illegal. That's basically what they've ruled, that you have to mean to communicate an intent to break the law. So Sharon Angle's statement, while objectionable to you, was clearly not a problem constitutionally. And so when lawmakers come in and start to say, let's try to make it unconstitutional, or let's try to call for the elimination of these statements, people start to get uncomfortable.
Well, I'm not calling for Sharon Angle to be muzzled or incarcerated. What I'm saying is
just the
those
American
who
people.
showered her with respect and money took our politics one step further toward the extreme. They made
Can't you
talking
say
about
that on both
assassination.
sides? That's the problem. You can't. I know you cited Sharon Angle, and the sheriff cited her as well. But then the folks on the other side have come out and pointed to President Obama's statements, you know, quoting the Untouchables, saying, if they bring a knife to a fight, we'll bring a gun. And he called for he said that one of his supporters could tear Sean Hannity up. And he talked about how, you know, he's got to figure out who's blank to kick. And just, you know, there is some rhetoric on both sides of the aisle, and President Obama didn't mean any threats by those, and I'm sure Sharon Angle would say she didn't either.
If you read what Sharon said in context, she did. She talked about people rising up and taking over the government by force using their guns. She was very explicit.
Because you guys don't listen to your constituents, and you're pissing them off. They're getting mad. They're ready to grab pitchforks and go up there and take you out and tar and feather you. What do you think?
In contrast,
Well,
you're
what
right.
do you want? Do you want that not to be able to be said anymore, or you just want a public backlash against it?
I want a public backlash, not only against that kind of rhetoric, but on those who support those who engage in calls for violence if they can't win at the ballot box. And, you know, I've had left-wing demonstrators take over my town halls. People who support Hamas tried to take over. And they had no support from anybody in the mainstream.
Unfortunately, it does happen on both sides. But my last question for you, because they're wrapping me, Congressman, my apologies, is, you know, what does any of it, I know you talk about the cigarette and the heart attack, but what does any of it have to do with this case? Because, you know, we've had doctor after doctor come on and say, what you are likely dealing with here is a paranoid schizophrenic. And you could have had this paranoid schizophrenic sitting, you know, in peaceful seminars doing meditations about love, joy, and unicorns all day, every day. And more than likely, if he wasn't medicated and helped by a medical doctor, the same result would have come out here.
I can't think that we can speculate on the state of mind of this deranged lunatic.
But aren't you?
I do think he lived. No, I'm saying if you have a heart attack, stop smoking. Not because nicotine may or may not have caused your last heart attack, you'll never know, but it's going to cause the next one. And if we continue to bring into the mainstream and teach and treat as respectable those who call for violence and disruption and assassination and revolution and insurrection, then whether that caused what happened in Tucson or not, it'll cause the next tragedy. We've got to take those who preach violence and shun them instead of supporting them.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, that last statement is something hopefully we can all agree upon. Congressman Brad Sherman, thank you so much for coming on with your thoughts. All the best to you, sir.
Good to be with you.
So that's what you got from him. I believe in not doing violence to take our government back, but if they keep pushing like this, are we going to have any choice? Is there ever going to be any choice to stop them from this not listening to their people? They don't listen to their constituents. They sit there and snub their nose at us. I'm lucky I'm a libertarian. I don't agree with your side. But I see the evil going on between the both sides. Both sides are corrupt to hell and back. They both are ran by lobbyists from all organizations. I mean, I don't have to name them. I'd probably get shunned for naming like ADL and the SPLC and others like that run them. But there's organizations out there that's running them. And if we don't stop them peacefully, we're going to have to pick up arms to do it by force. And we'll have to get the police and the military on our side, because eventually they're going to realize they've been duped by these people and by these foreigners, the UN. The UN's actually calling the shots along with the world banksters. Well, until next time, this is Spellbinder with the Spellbinder Report. Good day.